Yes, guys, you know what time it is. It's your boy Jack here, joined by an excellent panel on a big, big day against Manchester United. We are away from home on this one. David isn't joining us. He is actually celebrating a birthday today. He's still not feeling quite well, though, is on top of that, which isn't, I must say, the best. He's celebrating a birthday isn't feeling very well, so he is putting in a performance, you could say. I even tried to rest him, guys, on Monday. I actually pulled an Antonio Conte sort of game management decision, decided to give Dave the rest on Monday. Didn't end up working out. So hopefully Kulusevski could actually come back this Wednesday, and maybe it might work out for Conte. But good to be joined by an excellent panel today. We'll start with the man right next to me, Ribsy. Thanks for filling in today. Good to see you. Excellent on the fan show, especially Friday. So I know people will recognize you, but good to have you on this show, the pre-match build-up.
How's it going? Yeah, good to be here, man. Thanks.
All righty. Kuva, long time no see. Like I said, been 2 match days. How we doing?
Yeah, really looking forward to this one. It's the sort of reason you're in the Premiership, isn't it? These sort of matches. Away to Man United, Old Trafford. Great ground. Loved going there on the away trips. I have to settle for it for TV on nowadays, but it's still a big event, isn't it?
Definitely a big event. Definitely. Mr. Daigle, thanks for filling in today. How are we?
I am very good, mate. I'm very good. A lot of things started clearing up. And yeah, life is going good, and it will be better with 3 points today. So much better with 3 points today that I think we will get.
Everybody wants 3 points today. Not a person in the world doesn't want it. Even I would say a few Mancunians that aren't wearing the red today probably want to see us getting 3 points, because I think, who knows, with the way Manchester United are playing, we could be 3-0 up at halftime, or it could be 0-0 and could be the most dreadful game we've ever seen. I think there's plenty of scripts available today. But everybody, before I get to the comments, before I kind of get, addressing, the Harris Army and whatnot, I do kind of want to just tell everybody maybe everything they do need to know about this game. Just kind of get it started off right away, just so that people aren't maybe searching it themselves. Might as well find it here. Of course, it is going to be away at Old Trafford. Kickoff is going to be at 3:15 p.m. UK time. Simon Hooper is going to be the referee. He seems to be a bit of an Anthony Taylor impressionist by the looks of things. Bald, very similar. Looks like kind of a distant cousin as well. VAR is Michael Oliver, who we actually saw present at Ellen Road and perhaps was behind the power outage at Ellen Road. He was speaking a lot to the Ted Lasso and the Lego Man, so that should be an interesting one. That Simon Hooper and Michael Oliver combination. Ribsy, any opinion on these referees, or Kuva or Brian? Any opinion on either of these referees here?
Look, Simon Hooper don't know a lot about. Michael Oliver is wait and see. I mean, VAR is the one that's causing the most controversy, isn't it? It's not the referee on the field; it's the referee off the field that is causing the most damage as we speak right now. We're making the most controversial decisions. And just to let people know, it's available on Fubo in Canada.
Good man. Thank you. Absolutely. And I always forgot to ask you that, Brian. So it shows how much more professional Dave is about this. Kuva, any opinions on Michael Oliver or Simon Hooper, or are they kind of, new to the refereeing world, would you say?
I'm kind of follow suit with Brian there. I don't really have much of an opinion on Simon Hooper. Don't really recall any incidents with him at all. Michael Oliver, been around a bit, but as Brian said, VAR, it seems to be the hub for controversy this season, doesn't it? Well, it has been since it started, but it seems to be getting worse, doesn't it? You seem to be getting the impression now you're better off with your referee's original decision.
Basically, so maybe there would be less chaos afterwards when we see the replays. You're probably right. Ribsy, sounds like I'll be probably using not too many sirs today, because it's no Anthony Taylor in here, probably not as big of conspiracy referees in behind, but sounds like the panel is very concerned, though, about VAR. That's the real referee we should be worried about today.
Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, it's the old story, right? If the VAR's poking in, then pretty much they're going to overturn the decision on the field. So, whenever they go to that little screen, it's, they don't come back and go, oh, actually, it's not, I'm going to go with my original decision. They always go, okay, fine, we're flipping it over. So, yeah, we'll see, I guess. I'm not too familiar with that referee though either. So we'll see.
We'll definitely see. We'll definitely see. But there you are, everybody. There's everything you need to know, at least going into this game. And also UK and Ireland, Amazon Prime. In Canada, it's over on the Fubo, which Brian, I know, doesn't rate very highly. USA, it's on Peacock TV. Injury news, Richarlison is out with a calf problem. And thankfully, we do know that he is going to be available for the World Cup. And he's only really out for about 2 weeks, is I guess the estimate. Kulusevski is going to be out with a thigh injury. We will be talking about whether there maybe have been some mind games at play today. Perhaps he really is available. I didn't see him in the training videos, though. I did see a lot of Hill Messi, and I saw a lot of Lucas Moura, so that is an interesting one. Emerson is out with suspension, and Kuban, in case you read that bottom. For those who maybe aren't Emerson's biggest fan, last chance to celebrate tonight. Maybe pop out the champagne, order a pizza. And in terms of the opponent, Eriksson could be a slight doubt for this one. Could be a combination of McTominay and Casemiro, maybe a McTominay and Fred. Who knows what Eric Ten Hag has in store. Maguire is going to be out, which is unfortunate for us. Martial is out as well. Van de Beek, and apparently he still plays for them, is what I found out, but he's also out there. So those are the injury news. I guess Kulusevski will be talking about plenty, so no need to touch on it now. Everybody in the house, really good to see you. I do kind of want to kind of make the best of sort of the questions that Dave has given me. We have so many questions today, so we're going to get right into it, but so many good faces in the house today. I say Mia W, Spurs Bench, Foggy Foam, Jiu-Jitsu, Nick Coupland. Big up Nick Coupland. Hopefully you got my email as well, my man. Big up Mark New. Polio's in the house. DJ Samuel, the one and only Bob Spur TV, says Kuva needs a haircut. Big up, guys. Wisdom in the house. Good to see you, Lisa. Absolute legend. Good to see you, Zoe. United Spurs of America. Good to see you, Jacob. King Hoddle, the absolute legend. And hopefully, King Hoddle, I just made that joke about Emerson just for, kind of some kindness. As you know, save Emerson always. Always save Emerson. P Dubs is in the house as well. Good to see you. Stefan Blois, absolute legend. Joseph, Mark, George Hill, Czar Spurs, and Dan Coys. Apologies for kind of zipping through it, everybody. But like I said, Dave gave me a plethora of questions today. So I do want to make the most of them, and we are going to get straight away with it. But before, do smash that like button if you do enjoy these pre-match build-ups. Keep getting your comments, and I'm going to try my best to kind of keep the panel engaged here, as well as get your comments up on screen. But if you do want to skip the queue, feel free to throw in a super chat. It's a great way to support the channel. But let's get straight into it, everybody. Despite having a good account of ourselves last year, Kuva, we lost 3-2 because of a Ronaldo masterclass. Can we get revenge tonight? Is it on the cards?
I'd say we're more likely to this season, aren't we? Ronaldo's not getting the chances so much this season, and we're improving. Whether we like the football or not, they can't argue with the results we're getting. So it's a prime time for us to snatch something out of this game, but it's Old Trafford. We have a shocking record there. If I remember rightly, I read Conte's never won there, has he?
I think they're also a team that we've lost to pretty much more than any other team in Premier League history as well.
And they win on Wednesdays more than anybody else. There's loads of stats that stack up to suggest it's a United win.
So a lot of hoodoo behind kind of this.
Yeah, so we've got things to overcome, but that's what it's all about with Conte, isn't it? Overcoming the adversity. So perhaps that's the way to look at it. It's the breaking of old habits. Is the getting rid of that Spursy element once and for all. We think we're over the hump, but are we? Is there that little result back in there every now and then? For me, it's to do with how well we handle their quick counter breaks. Because likes of Rashford and Anthony in the team, even Ronaldo, even at his age, he saves a little bit in the tank for those little breakaway goals. He did did a fine effort against Everton doing that.
Yeah,
they are set up quite nicely to hurt a team that gets a bit too adventurous. Will it be us? I think if they sit back, are we going to come out? If we sit back, does it force them out?
Did you kind of get my joke then, where I said, who knows? They're a team that could be 4-0 down at halftime, United, but they're also a team that could set up like you just said, and this could be a 0-0, actually, the scoreline that no one predicts, and it could be like that Newcastle game.
It is one of those. I hate the idea of giving a prediction on this one. I have no idea.
I like that answer. I love that answer. And it sounds like sweet revenge is something very hard to achieve. And Kuva, I appreciate you saying that there is a lot of bad sort of vibes and hoodoo behind this game, because I think it's a good way to ask Brian this, because Tottenham have lost more Premier League games against Man United than they have versus any other opponent. That's 38, in fact, Brian. Is tonight a real chance for Spurs to show the rest of the league that they mean business, and would a win send out a huge statement to the media and everyone else who's been maybe doubting sort of Tottenham this season?
Well, you got to look at it. The last time we had an attempt to put a real marker down was against the Filth. And we know how that turned out. The first one we had was against Chelsea. And we may not have been the greatest performance, but we dug deep. We got everything we did. We didn't give up, and we got a point. This is a real one. This now. The closer we get to the World Cup, the more important games like this become. And this is a real chance. And I've been saying it again. If we go 3-5-2, I'm highly confident. Just because that extra man, if Basuma plays like he did against Everton, he'll just suffocate the Manchester United midfield, and then we can exploit them with the two deadly duo up top. This is like you're saying with Kuva, but that Conte's never won at Old Trafford. Well, if that's not a hold my beer moment, I don't know what is. This is a genuine opportunity to do so, and I think we have this time going into last season. We were playing the 3-4-3. We had Kulusevski, we had Bentancur, but I don't think the players had fit into the understanding of what Conte wanted and how he wanted to play, and the passages of play and patterns of play, and where the players should be in transition. Well, now they do. They're fully aware of their responsibilities and what they need to do. And like I said, if we play 3-5-2, I'm highly confident that we'll win. If we go 3-4-3 with Kulusevski, I'm highly confident.
Anyone's game.
If we go 3-4-3 without Kulusevski, I'm not so confident at all.
Yeah, definitely. I think good opening statements there. And just quickly, as a member super chat from DJ Samuel, he's gone for 3-0 in this one. And he's been a member for 3 months as well. Big yourself up, DJ. And 3-0, I'd love to take that. And it certainly has been a score line that has been more familiar to Man United these days than they would like to think. Big up, DJ. Moondog, good evening, gents. 2-1 to us, no problem. That's more my score line going into this one, I must say, Moondog. I've kind of gone for the 2-1. I could see a draw on the cards as well. Believe me, if we were to probably go for a win or predict a win, it just seems hard to really expect Spurs to, I don't know, really just absolutely tear apart Man United, because I don't know, they're kind of one of those teams like Chelsea and whatnot. Even when they're in the worst kind of form, sometimes they just save their best for us, and they can go against their horrible kind of vein of form and all of a sudden just kind of gel together to show up against us. And then they just capitulate right after, kind of like Chelsea did as well. So I think there is certainly going to be a tough game on the cards for this one, Moondog. But Ribsy, we have only won 2 of our 7 away games across all competitions this season. Is our away form been a bit worrying for you this season so far?
Yes and no. Winning's a tough ask in this match. I certainly think it's possible, but if we come away with a point here, I mean, I'll put it this way: if they offered me a point right now, I'd take it, and that's simply because of our history at Old Trafford. And I'm not too worried about our away form, because is that just in the league, or are you talking about in Europe as well?
I think just in all competitions and all 7 away games that we played this season.
Yeah, well, I mean,
we've only won 2 so far, but there have been, of course, some draws that we have to account for. But some of those draws maybe could have been turned into wins. I mean, has it been something on your mind?
Chelsea, no. The loss in Portugal, I mean, that was heartbreaking, but it didn't seem to affect the team too much in terms of their form going forward.
West Ham maybe could have been, I guess, with the way we played in the first half, that could have been maybe a better, more complete 90 there. But that's also a tough ask. But it is kind of interesting that maybe Spurs haven't had a convincing. No, it was a draw, but I'm saying, they could have turned it into a win. Basically,
it should have been.
Are we looking for a convincing win? We're kind of looking for our first convincing away win maybe this season, our first convincing one that maybe the media would take notice of.
Well, this would certainly be. The media would certainly take note of this because it's Manchester United and that's the only team. If you live in a country like Australia where the Premier League gets very little coverage, I can tell you if it's going to get covered, it's going to be Manchester United.
It's the only game on TV. They always make TV. Yeah.
So they'll talk about that one for 5 minutes, so that'll be, but it'll be interesting. I want to see how we play. Like the guys were saying before, the formation's going to be interesting based on what players actually turn out to be available, because if we are going to play 3 attackers, I'm interested to see how that looks without Decky and without Richarlison, obviously. But
Right.
I've heard all sorts of wild whispers. I've heard people saying that they're going to play Lucas at right wing back, which is going to be hilarious if that's what happens. I can't see that working, but I will laugh if that's the team sheet. So, no, I'd be the 3 midfielders debate. I mean, that's a good shout, especially down the players we're down. But I suspect some of the success we've been having with that formation is that teams are really setting up to play against us in that primary formation that we're playing.
Yeah.
And when we have that change, the adjustment period is what's really causing the other teams the hassle, as much as having the extra midfielder as well. I think that makes sense to play that way, but then again, I'm not Antonio Conte, so I think
we'll try to get best into his mindset today, because he's playing plenty of mind games here, Ribsy. Just going to get to a quick super chat from Moondog. Says, just hope my prediction ain't like my bets with Dyer. Moondog, I mean, hopefully you enjoyed the last one, because that was, like I said, the very last Moon Boots bet. I think you told me it was the very last one. Hopefully no more from here on out. I would say stay by Højbjerg. Seems like the Højbjerg bets seem to be coming through. And I think I even said to you last game, maybe think about a Højbjerg bet. But hopefully that's the one that you can stick by. I would say Moon Boots, he's just burned you too many times, Moondog. Time to find, a new kind of maybe a new soulmate when it comes to these bets. Big up, brother. Really appreciate you.
Funny enough, Moon Boots is the sort of bet I might have tonight.
No, don't get him tempted, Kuba. Please.
If we're gonna snatch a win, I'd fancy it from a set piece or something like that.
That's exactly
Harry Kane free kick, Kuba.
Don't be silly. Proper set piece. Harry Kane doesn't take free kicks. He just recycles the ball in incredible ways.
I think it was an achievement. He got it over the wall last time when he took the free kick, to be fair. But Moondog, appreciate your support. And I would just say stick by Højbjerg. He's your new man, brother. Eugene Park, 6-1 Spurs again. Let's go. I mean, by that time, I think the crowd would be just as empty as it was during the COVID time. If we were up 4-0 at halftime, I would imagine all the Man United fans will walk out. That would be glorious, Eugene. Absolutely love that. I mean, what made that game kind of turn around? Because didn't we go 1-0 down in that game, Ribsy? Like, what kind of happened in that game? How did Spurs just all of a sudden just kind of torch them and turn it around? Do you remember? It's kind of hard for me to remember, because we always get the highlights and it's always kind of put in a nice little, neat package. But I kind of forget what that turning point was in that game.
It was just a mad game. It was just one of those ones where everything we touched just turned to gold immediately, and you do one of them every now and then, where every 50-50 ball went our way, and it was just,
even Tongi had
every now and then. Yeah, exactly. It didn't matter. Everyone was playing 10 out of 10. And, well, even if they weren't, whoever was playing on the other, just wasn't achieving anything. So, it was a freak game, and it was
definitely
makes a good highlight reel, that's for sure.
It certainly did, and definitely a long one, in fact. Big up also Ben Kaufman, member for 15 months, fan show member, Mr. Kaufman, the coffee master, says, big up the panel. Time to show that we mean business and that we are ready to kick on. Time to smell the coffee and batter this awful United team. Hopefully you're smelling better coffee, because he had some Tim Hortons earlier, Mr. Daigle, and I'm not sure he really liked it too much. Your thoughts on the Tim Hortons? I know it's a national icon of Canada, so you do have to tread carefully on your review, but he did have a sip of the Tim Hortons.
Listen, Tim Hortons is Tim Hortons. You get used to it. It's like one thing I will say about coffee and this country is, obviously, coffee is a big drink in England, but we're most known for our tea. But I never understood when people said, "Don't talk to me till I've had my coffee." I never understood it till I moved to North America, because I have seen people where I've said good morning and they go, "Rah, rah, rah, rah." They have a coffee. Oh, Brian, I'm so sorry for the shouting. The effects this magical coffee has, and 9 times out of 10, it's come from Tim Hortons, because they're all over the place. Listen, Tim Hortons do okay coffee, but the food they do on the go is very, very good. So yeah, that's where I leave my review. It's going to feel weird when I'm back in London and can't get a Tim Hortons as regularly as what I wanted.
It's a Canadian treasure, says Justin.
Oh,
That's
big
what I said.
time.
You can't be too critical of it. It's a Canadian treasure. You don't wanna be too harsh on the review, is what I say. And then what I would argue as well is Ben definitely knows his coffee taste. So at least he put up a good face when drinking the Tim Horton. And he also took a very brave gulp for somebody that didn't look like he was looking forward to it as well. Very brave gulp. Big up. Ben Kaufman, and really appreciate you for all the support for 15 months as well. Absolute legend. But we are gonna. Sorry, did I miss something, Mr. Daigle?
Yeah, no, just I'm sending you a message.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Daigle. Thanks for making me aware. But we are gonna get this next question up on the board. Many are saying if the game ended in a draw, Conte would be the happier of the two managers. Kuva, is a draw a good result tonight away at Old Trafford, or is that maybe a bit of a defeatist attitude to maybe take today?
It's there for the taking, I think. A draw wouldn't be a disaster, but I mean, how often are we going to get the chance to go to Old Trafford and really be able to assert our dominance on them? It doesn't happen very often. I think now's one of those occasions we can go pretty optimistically. So as long as we perform well, I don't see why we shouldn't be looking at winning it. It's for me, that's always the correct attitude. You go in looking for a draw, you often end up losing it. You play too negatively. I think they're there to have the game taken to them a bit. You've got to shut up that home crowd for a start. I don't think we want to risk this time the repeat of the 6-1 tactic of letting them score in the first 2 minutes. I don't think it's going to work this time. It did inspire us before, but are we going to come flying back at them? Maybe. I just can't read this game. How's it going to play out? I really can't. If they get off to that flying start, do we get over our traditional sort of slow starts in this match and go bombing at them the rest of the game? That could work in our favour. Mm-hmm. Alternatively, have a cagey game up to half-time. It's all level, perhaps. Are we going to think, don't lose it here, take the point, try and nick something on the counter ourselves? It's a really hard one to read. I don't think there's going to be a huge amount of goals in the game. Yeah. I just feel there's a little bit of fear with dealing with some of the pace in their forward line. And there's going to be a little bit of fear in their defence dealing with Kane on form in terms of goal scoring. Mm-hmm. And they know what Sonny can do to them. Does Kulusevski come back into the team? I think he's going to be on the subs bench, personally. I think so that's too. One of those potential game changers we could have for a second half if it's a cagey game.
I agree. I think maybe some people might even be pleased to see probably 3-5-2 to begin with. And then if Spurs do need to switch things up or chase the game, you could see Kulusevski be brought on for something different.
We're kind of forced into the 3-5-2 as far as I'm concerned.
We've said that before, but he's found a way with the 3-4-3. But Dermot actually kind of answered our question here. He says, I love us to win tonight, but if you offer me a draw, I rip your hand off, but I feel it's the right time to play Man United, but I'm hoping for a 3-1 win. Come on, you Spurs. Dermot, I absolutely love it because it's right on par with this question. Is it a bit of a defeatist attitude to, be absolutely delighted with the draw, Brian, or should we be okay with it? Is it a defeatist attitude? What are your thoughts on that? Because I think a lot of us maybe want to take this kind of like that Chelsea game where we're like, the best we can hope for is a point here. Or is that a bit defeatist, maybe considering where Man United are, 7 points adrift and kind of all that?
So when I was on Tottenham TV yesterday, I was asked this question. I kind of said, we need to win, but a draw is something away from Old Trafford is going into this. The biggest thing is to get as many points on the board before the World Cup to keep us in the race. Whether it be a title race, I don't think we'll win the title, but to be in the race, we certainly can be. And to make sure we've kind of got one foot in the door of the top four come the World Cup. So I said I would take a draw, but now I think about it, if we're going to put a marker down, these are the kind of games we have to turn into victories. Because if you look at it, with Man City, Liverpool on Sunday, the first bit I heard, I didn't know Foden's goal had been disallowed. Me, Ben, and Bobby were on the way to Niagara Falls, and right then I started thinking, "Holy shit, we're 13 points ahead of Liverpool." And then the next minute I knew we're only 7 points away from Liverpool, and that's how quickly these things can change. And 3 points here today is huge. To get 10 points back on Liverpool, to get more points on United, to put more pressure on Chelsea, who've got a game in hand. So for me, I want to change what I said yesterday and say that, yeah, I'd take a draw right now. I wouldn't. I want 3 points, and I think we have to take 3 points. I think we have to. If we're going to count ourselves serious, you have to win at the big boys and keep your distance, and it will start tonight, hopefully.
I really agree there, Daigle. And kind of to you, Ribsy, is this the most beatable Man United you've ever seen? Is this the most winnable situation that Spurs have found themselves in going to Old Trafford? Is this one where it is okay to maybe expect a bit more than a point?
Yeah, sure. I mean, like everyone's saying, I mean, you don't play games to draw them, right? It's when I was saying before that I'd take a point if you offered it to me, I'm talking about that as purely as a fan. If you're going into this match to play it, you play it to win it, and you be talking about how, these guys, there's been, there haven't been a cohesive unit like Manchester United sometimes can be, isn't always. That they're beatable this season, and that you would talk up about how it's good to be playing this team relatively early while they're still trying to get their situation sorted out, because there's no lack of talent in the team. They're just not organized, and they're not firing right. So and look, you could argue that Spurs, even with all the success we've been having this season, we haven't looked like we've been hitting top gear in a lot of these matches as well. Yeah. And the fact that we've been, I mean, strategically, we seem to be set up quite successfully. And the fact that we're getting wins out of these matches means that if we do actually hit top gear in a match like this, especially while they're not, functioning the way that they could be, then yeah, we could be able to blow them out of the water. But there's a lot of coulds in there, and at the end of the day, if we get in there and it ends up being a scrappy 2-2 where we've equalized in the last 5 minutes of the match or something, I mean, I'm not going to be crying. I'm going to be pretty bloody happy with that in the end. So it just depends on how the match unfolds, I think, and we just have to see. As Kuva was saying, it's really tough it could be 0-0. It could be just awful. Yeah. It could be a really good 1-0 as well. So yeah, it's difficult.
Even the Chelsea game felt more predictable, I would say, than this one. I'll be honest. It felt like there was some sort of result that, like we were saying, I think a lot of us were expecting a draw and expecting us to set up pretty, nasty and pretty horribly to try to get a point. And this one, it's difficult because Conte even said in the press conference he's setting up to win here. And like you even said, Ribsy, no one really sets up to draw, and this would be, I would say, a definitely an interesting one with how he goes about it, for sure. But big up Dermot, and honestly, a very on par with the topic super chat, and really appreciate it, brother. And I must say, I think there's no shame in ripping somebody's hands off for a draw, but I think now more than ever, it's actually more beatable Manchester United is really how I sort of feel about it. But Kuva, a couple of weeks ago, Conte went on the offensive about his defensive approach. I don't like to play open, concede a lot of space, concede 6, 7, or 8 goals, he said. Was it a coincidence that it came right after Man United had lost a Manchester derby 6-3, potentially a dig at Erik ten Hag, and maybe also a dig at people calling out his style of play? What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's more a response to the style of play things. I mean, I'm not. I'm straight up with it. I'm not a Conte fan. Never have been. But he is undoubtedly a great manager. So he's got to be allowed to play it his way. If we got him, if we signed him, you you can't use the analogy before. You don't buy a cat and then expect it to bark. He's gonna play his own way. So I'm behind it. I'm behind what he does. I'm not going to necessarily enjoy all of the football the way we're playing, but if the results keep coming, you can't really be too unhappy about it, can you? I mean, lost one game so far. All right, it was that game, but league wise anyway.
But you think more of a response to the fans than Eric Ten Hag, or like?
I think so. It's like it's almost like a how dare you question me? It's I know what I'm doing here. Just relax. Shut it. I think tonight's one of these games where positive result. There's going to be an awful lot more belief from people that are sitting on the fence. I think you mentioned it at the start, Jack. I've kind of got this optimistic nervousness, the good kind. It's the when you go into a home game and you're playing someone like Norwich and you're with your mates and you've got a few beers inside and you think 5-0, no problem. Tonight I'm not thinking 5-0, but I'm thinking we can get something out of this. We can get something out of this.
I know exactly what you mean, Kuba. That's fabulous. I know exactly what you mean. Optimistic nervousness, exactly what we want to be hearing. But no shame in feeling very nervous. I would say no shame in feeling very nervous. This is a team we always have struggled with, and as we discussed earlier, maybe a bit of bad hoodoo there as well. Truth Sets Free gifting a membership. Big up at the Truth, and he's gifted Peter Spillane. Great name, I must say. Welcome to the Harris Army, and come on the fan show, Peter. The next one should be Friday. I'll see if we'll be able to do one tonight. Unlikely, just because it will be probably way too late, considering it's starting at 8:15. I mean, that is a late kickoff, I must say, but almost like kind of bordering on kind of La Liga kickoffs. But big yourself up, Peter Spillane, and hopefully we can get you on the fan show as soon as possible. Big yourself up as well, Truth. Really do appreciate it. I saw you nodding your head just quickly, Ribsy, about the quotes from Conte. Do you think those kind of words about, his style of play? He says he basically is a type of style of play. He says, I don't concede 5, 6, 7. That's how he likes to play. And do you think that was more of a pop at the fans, maybe questioning him, or is that more of a pop at Eric Ten Hag?
I don't know. They got a rise out of him last season when Klopp was saying stuff about how he was playing as well, and that was about us apparently playing. Oh wait,
it was Klopp.
It was Klopp, and also and people were saying when we were playing City, even though we won home and away, and obviously that was Nuno in the home game, but when we won away, there were people saying that was negative football we played in that match, which is ridiculous. I completely agree with Conte on that assessment of that game. I know we're talking about a game from last season, but it wasn't negative football. We were playing Manchester City, and as you saw from, Liverpool playing City last week and whenever it was, I mean, Klopp's playing counterattack against them, right? It's just how you play against City. So, not the same, but it's just I get why Conte's frustrated with people saying his football's defensive when every top manager in the league plays how you play against the appropriate team. So they're getting a rise out of him. So, that's why they keep digging at it. But, because usually he's pretty diplomatic these days compared to old Conte footage I've seen around the traps. But yeah.
Yeah, definitely a more tamed version for sure. And Brian, a different sort of question for you here. Tottenham have had their best start to a campaign since 1963. We have scored the third highest number of goals. We are level on points with Man City. But despite all this, there is still some skepticism, some criticism, and some discontent about the style of play, especially coming from the media, from Fraud Sports and Talk Fraud, as Philip would like to say, who couldn't join us today. What is all the fuss about? And maybe are those sort of media outlets, as well as maybe some fans, looking for reasons to maybe doubt Spurs, or maybe looking for reasons to be unhappy with Tottenham? Or is there maybe some validation behind why people are skeptical of Spurs still?
So first of all, I just want to touch on the last bit you would just say. So when we're talking about it, I think Conte was also having a dig at the media, not the fans. He was having the fans, but the media have been having a go at him. And when we talk about this being a hoodoo and this being a bad thing, you've got to remember, first of all, this is the first managerial meeting between Conte and Ten Hag, period. And I wonder if Spurs fans will know what happened the last time Tottenham played an Eric Ten Hag team away on a Wednesday night. I seem to remember a certain Lucas Moura hat-trick that took us to the promised land. So if you want stats, let's use that one. Let's use the last time Tottenham Hotspur played an Eric Ten Hag team on a Wednesday night away. We all know what happened. So let's hope that kind of lightning can strike twice. Now, you know what?
Brian, does that mean you're hoping we go 2-0 down first?
Oh, no, fuck that. My heart won't take that. My heart won't take that. But if it guarantees the win, so be it. But what I will say, do you know what? And I've seen it a lot on Twitter recently. Again, this whole started again with people say there's a Levy out and Levy in narrative and the style of football. People wanted Spurs to lose so they can put. Listen, I said this. I was on Tottenham away with Cougar last week, and I said, listen, this football bores the shit out of me. Literally, the Everton game, not so much the second half when we reversed it back to a 3-5-2. If you look at it, we went 3-5-2. Everton had no shots on target, no shots attempted. Period. Didn't do anything. When we went on to attack, and control that midfield. I remember a time when, and this is a long time ago. Cougar will remember this as well. Where Arsenal, the filth, used to sing to themselves, boring, boring Arsenal, and 1-0 to the Arsenal, and they were winning leagues.
And they got praised for
They
that.
were winning FA Cups constantly. So if we need to, listen, we all love the Poch style of play, the Harry Redknapp style of play, the Keith Birkinshaw style of play, Martin Yole style of play. What have they all got in common? Apart from Birkinshaw, obviously? 0 trophies. 0. So at the moment, yes, I'd love to see the football get better. And you know what? It still can. It still can. Listen, if people bitch and moan about Conte's style of play, when he was manager at Chelsea, they weren't boring. They were destroying teams. They were literally ripping teams.
In fact, Chelsea, that's been their way of play for a while. Is just
that's the thing. But one stage actually, he went 3-4-3 or 3-5-2, and he had 10 players before Victor Moses that could play that seamlessly. And they had people like Mata and Lampard and Drogba and these people and such players that could do these kind of wonderful things. We've got one in Kulusevski, but he ain't fit. Son and Kane obviously do what they do. Once we get a better window, let's say January comes and by some miracle we have a wonderful window and we sign some players that are real ballers, that's going to affect the style of play. You can have the players in that position, but then you can go, right, go expand yourself. And you know what? Brian Ireland said something to me, and he's been saying it for weeks, and I kind of believe him now the way it's looking. He keeps saying to me, do you know what? I think Antonio Conte's mission is just get to the World Cup with as many goddamn points on the board by hook or by crook. By hook or by crook. If it has to be mind-numbingly boring, so be it. Just shut up shop, win as many games as you can, and then after the World Cup, when the games aren't so thick and goddamn fast and players can recuperate and there is time for players to rest, then he can do what we did at the end of last season with smashing the field.
So he's kind of sprinting essentially right now.
Exactly.
Like he's trying to get to the highest point possible, like you said, by the World Cup. Then he can fine-tune things a bit more from there. Yeah.
That's Brian, I said, and you look at it and you think maybe you're right, because if you look at the second half of last season after Kulusevski and Bentancur came, the 4-0s at Leeds, the 3-2s at Leicester and City, the 5 at Newcastle at home, the 3-0 to Arsenal, the 5 at Norwich, the 4 at Villa, and we weren't playing boring football then.
Yeah.
So,
Kuva, I see you nodding your head. Is there like something, that Brian's maybe touched on here that you kind of agree with? Is it, is there maybe some validation behind maybe why the media hasn't been so convinced with Spurs? And is there maybe something to be said about that? Or is there maybe something Brian touched on that? Because I saw you nodding your head, sorry.
I think, for me, this style of football that when it's not going well, and some of the games have been dreadful to watch, let's be honest. Is that down entirely to Conte? No. For me, we've amassed this squad that, generally speaking, a lot of these players are just not good footballers. They're not good, silky, smooth passers of the ball. Some of them are not comfortable in possession. That's not down to the manager. It's going to take time. So I do honestly believe that if we get some more quality players in, the football will improve while the results carry on being very positive. So I think there is something to look forward to there. The doubt for me's never been about Conte, but that's another conversation, isn't it? I don't think we'll get onto that one. Otherwise, we'll trigger Brian.
Nice and calm today. It's all about Tottenham.
Yeah. So I do think it's one of those ones that media does try and look for the way to stir up the hornet's nest, doesn't it? And get it to even stir up the whole Levy in, Levy out debate. You'll get that happening a lot of the time because people want to watch the car crash stuff, don't they? And people want to listen to the arguments and getting heated. There's no real need to at the moment. Things are going well. Just have to hope that we start a little bit more flow to the football. Kane finding his passing range as well as the goals. Sonny banging them in more comfortably than he has been, bar the Leicester game. These sorts of things. Kulusevski back in the team is going to make a big difference, I think. We just look a lot better as a football inside with him in there. But to counter that, we might see Emerson back as well. So have to see how
last
it
day
goes.
to celebrate.
Long season, but I think there could well be something to this racing to the World Cup bit because several of these players won't be going at all. Others will have a fairly early exit, so it's almost going to be after the World Cup. There's a little bit of a rest period, if I remember rightly. We're not straight back into the season, are we?
Boxing Day. There's what they're doing. I think after Boxing Day, there's not the masses of games before New Year's Day. So I think it's Boxing Day, and then I think that's it till January.
Yeah, so it's a little bit of a gap to recover, isn't there? So it is a good way of looking at it. The season's split into the two halves. So I think it makes sense to do this sprint again.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on this, Ribsy? Is it kind of Conte just basically trying to get to the highest points possible? Doesn't really care how it's done and doesn't really think about really how it's done, just as long as it's 3 points and he moves on.
Well, there's a clear difference in his the way he approaches games. Considering last season he came in mid-season, and and then he turned in, as the guys were saying, some incredible performances in the latter half of the season there, where we weren't just winning, we were blowing teams out of the water. And I mean, it was a very it was the kind of football that you can play with the kind of immense talent we have in this team in some areas if you just you go for broke. He started this season. I think it's clear that Antonio Conte, despite knowing that what Tottenham Hotspur would have to achieve to win this league, it's an incredible ask. I think even knowing how good we are compared to some of the teams in the league, the gap he knows exists between us and City, for example. He's playing though where he's valuing all the points that he can get, and that means sometimes there's going to be some boring football. And I agree with the guys, sometimes it really sucks to watch because you think if you just put in that extra midfielder or you do this or you do that, we're going to be scoring more goals. But I suppose through the analysis and through the tools that they have at their disposal, they've identified this as the way to go. And sometimes that means crummy football, unfortunately. It's just...
It feels like we're all kind of getting used to it as well, to be honest. And it's not easy to get used to crummy football from time to time. We do want something a bit more entertaining, and that's understandable because Spurs have been associated with that for some time, Ribsy.
And I'm not saying that this is the only way to do it, and they're seeing the only way to victory or anything. I'm just saying that under the tactical tools that Conte has at his disposal and the style of football and the players that we have, I suppose they've seen this as the path of least resistance to the most amount of points. And, I guess that's what we're in it for at the end of the day, isn't it? I mean, Spurs fans are demanding some sort of victory, whether it be in Cup or in the league or in Europe. We need something because it's been a long time. And, some people say, it's to shut up all that, that static we get online about you ain't won nothing, sort of stuff. But honestly, that doesn't bother me because those people don't like Tottenham, and if they don't have that to complain, if they don't have that to throw at us, they'll find something else. So, and eventually it'll be something even nastier. So that doesn't bother me. But as a fan of Tottenham, I just want to bloody see us win stuff, and it's from being excited for us even getting into European competitions back, not even that long ago. You were talking about Redknapp before, that was unbelievable seeing, this team, well, no one in this team, but you know what I mean, this club get so relevant again, and then obviously Poch. So yeah,
I know what you mean. I know what you mean, and I feel like we're sort of growing, sort of as a fan base, because we're having to understand maybe that going from like Mourinho and Conte, it's a very sort of kind of different style to maybe what we've been used to in the past. Let's be honest, and they're very different types of managers, very different vibes of managers as
it's
well.
a different league too, right? It's just this is the kind of football that there was an interesting. Romero was talking about the difference in an interview, the difference between the football in Italy and in England, and it's, although there wasn't too much detail in that, I get what he means. Like this is the highest stage, I think, and it's different and defensive. I mean, it stops you leaking too many points, and it's kind of weird, like it seems like that tactic where we've got three up top seems tighter defensively sometimes than the one with the extra midfielder. So I don't know how specifically that works. I'd be interested to learn, but but I can see why he plays that, even though the fans all want to see the two up top.
I feel the theory behind that, playing with three forwards like that, is the rest of the team can concentrate on the defensive side of things, because you're expecting to get a goal from one of them, even if you only have, say, 6 or 7 chances. So it's a very, very pragmatic approach to it. I can see why he might go for that sort of thing. I think that's why we look better in the 3-5-2, because we have to venture forward a little bit more from deeper areas and support the front two. So the football sort of looks better on the eye in that respect. Then we're playing more like a team when we attack, rather than relying on the brilliance of a few individuals. For me though, I'm one of these annoying people where I am not satisfied unless we're playing great football as well as winning. So I am going to keep complaining if we don't play very well. Don't care. I'll never compromise on it.
I forget who on TalkSport said that was okay, though. He validated that, though, to be fair, Kuba. I forget on TalkSport there was that clip that went around on Twitter, but he validated that. He said with the style of play, we should be getting behind the team when we're picking up the points, but the moment you don't, welcome to criticize it, because it's not pretty to watch, and then you can point out the things that are going wrong. So I agree with you there, Kuba. But just a good question here for both of you, and I'm going to start with Mr. Daigle here, and don't maybe shoot the messenger, Daigle, but this is a question that Dave wanted me to ask here, and of course he's absent for it as well, and he's given me the question. But in October 2021, shaped the present and the future of both clubs, heading to what was dubbed El Sacico. Both managers were under pressure, and at the time, United ultimately won El Sacico, which led to the end of the short tenure of Spurs' favorite garden gnome, Nuno Espirito Santo. Tottenham moved swiftly to sign Antonio.
Yes, I know. Yes.
Tottenham moved swiftly to sign Antonio Conte, whereas United held out for a further month before sacking Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Nearly a year on, Tottenham are on in the Champions League, United the Europa League. Tottenham took 15 points more than United last season after Conte's appointment, and United were above us in the table. This season, we are 7 points ahead of them. Does Daniel Levy and the Tottenham board deserve praise for pulling the trigger quicker than United in a move that has clearly maybe benefited Spurs more than them?
No. No. And the reason I'm going to say that, and listen, the fact that Conte came in was incredible, was huge for the club. We had the opportunity to get him in June, but it fell apart. Well, we could have got him before all this, so we wouldn't have had that debacle of managers coming in Will it be Poch? Oh no. Will it be Gattuso? Will it be was that Portuguese guy that we were linked with? Just
One
everyone.
second.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Just anyone and everyone. There is no coincidence, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart. And I'm not saying this because of me and my people. There is absolutely no coincidence whatsoever that for the first time in 21 years, Daniel Levy heard a very, very large section of the crowd shouting, "We want Levy out," say, "We want Levy out." And it got louder and louder and louder. And that was the first time he thought and realised, oh shit, this is big. And again, Paratici stormed out in the second half or half time, didn't want to know. So we know how pissed off he was.
Mm-hmm.
That Pratt just sits there like he does always whenever the cameras go to him like this. Whenever you see him on the camera, we score a goal.
He was a wax figure. He did look like a wax figure.
Listen, the fact he's here is great from the club. Finally, the club went and did what they should have done. But they had the option to do this in June. They had the option to do this in June, which would have benefited the club greater. Is it a huge move by the club? 100%. 100%. Is it a move in the right direction? 100%. Is it now when we look a year on, has the club backed him? Well, that's up in the air what people want to say backed or whatever, but compared
it's also hard to compare yourself to a dumpster fire, which is kind of Man United at this moment in time.
Yeah, but also when you look at it, has Conte been backed? Not as much as I would have liked, nowhere near as much as I would have liked, but he has been backed somewhat. Even I can stand up and say that, not to the extent that I wanted to, or a lot of people wanted to, but he has. And have we moved on as a club? Yes, we have. But is there room for improvement? 1 billion%. 1 billion%. And people keep saying to me, "Oh, when are you going to apologise to Levy for getting Conte in? Or if Google comes in, I want a written apology from Daigle." And I had someone tweet me that if Google sign, you need to send Levy a written apology. First of all, I can't because I'm blocked by him for sending him emails, not of a thankful nature.
Not since the court
and
case.
second of all, it's a couple of things in 21 years. In 21 years, we are moving in the right direction for sure. A hell of a lot more to do, but we listen. It will going back to the original question because I went on a Levy rant there.
No, you were supposed to, and apologies, like I said, in advance for the question.
Whether he was going to do it or not, we never know. But what certainly forced his hand was people singing Levy out. That certainly was petrol on the fire for him, without a doubt.
Yeah, he'd come in just after not listening to the fans about Super League and seeing that blow up in a lot of clubs' faces as well. So hearing that probably made him go, "Oh yeah, I should probably listen to these guys every now and then." And
Kuva, do you feel like? I think that was a great answer from Brian. What I got from it was what's not being considered here is the impact that fans like himself did have on putting Levy in that position to make that decision. So when he's basically being forced to make such a dramatic decision, how much credit can you really give him is kind of what I kind of sort of got from that. And also, I think we can't really give that much credit for Levy for how much we've improved since Conte has come in. Conte's done a lot with very little in terms of last season because he didn't have a ton of investment until the likes of January, and he's done a lot with very little. So, the question to you, does maybe Daniel Levy and the Tottenham board deserve praise for how they maybe handled El Sakiko, or is that maybe being, a bit too complimentary?
No, I'm certainly not praising them. The problem I've got here, what happens when Conte does go? Because eventually he will, one way or another. Can anybody anywhere describe the kind of coach we're going to get next? What
one
style
likes
of football will
wingbacks,
we play
hopefully.
under the next manager? Nobody knows. We still don't have an identity. We're going from one manager to another, flip-flopping all the time. There's no sense of direction still, and it's going to be the same when Conte goes. Supposing then we get another Pochettino, wants to play some stylish, attacking, free-flowing, passing football, and we've assembled a team of very defensively minded players who perhaps offer more physicality but aren't that great on the ball, which is kind of what the squad we got at the moment. This is the problem I've always got with Levy. He's great at the business side, but when it comes to the football side, there's no consistency. Seems to be no long-term plan on how we're going to play, who we're going to have in the back room over a period of like 20, 25 years, not just for 1 or 2 years. I want to see the whole club changed from grassroots, from the kids coming through playing an attacking brand of football, the Ajax style. They've done a brilliant job with their club over the decades. I'd love to see that at Spurs. Consistency, everybody pushing in the same direction. We all know what to expect. The club will know what sort of managers to go for in the future. There'll be lists of them available that they will know who they want to go for. It's not going to be waiting 73 days and looking around at each other thinking, oh, bloody hell, who can we get now? There's just no long-term planning with the football side. I'm hoping this is changing, but we can't tell yet, can we? I'd love to know what the relationship is between Levy, Paratici, and Conte when it comes to transfers.
I would imagine
the conversation
is sort of a negotiator, a mediator between the two. In fact, I would imagine he's sort of doing a bit of not like translation work in the language sense, almost between their two wants and desires, where Paratici probably finds a way to satisfy Levy while also trying to find a way to convince Conte of some sort of project or some sort of plan.
That's just
I imagine he's very much a mediator between
when we say, Conte's being backed, if it's not actually Conte that is choosing these players, and we know for a fact that the likes of Jed Spence is not somebody he wanted, he said that quite openly, who actually is deciding our transfer policy? That's the bit we're not going to know for sure. Might know further down the line, somebody writes a book about that period of time and we'll get some insight into it. But right now we're sort of guessing. We're hoping that things are sort of taken away from Levy's influence a bit and it's going to Paratici and Conte, but can't tell yet. Really can't tell.
Yeah. Any thoughts on this, Ribsy, or do you feel like there's, maybe more credit that should probably just be given to Conte for also how much he's been able to do and produce with maybe so very little and also so little time in charge? I mean, I think he's just, or maybe is approaching a year, and look how much has happened since El Sacico, since he's come in. So maybe a lot of it, really, the credit just goes to Conte for just sincerely performing kind of a miracle. But what are your kind of thoughts on this?
In terms of who's in terms of who's in charge of getting players in, and I mean, we don't, as Kuva's saying, we don't know for sure, but that we do have one piece of evidence that we haven't had in recent seasons, and that's the videos that the official Tottenham channel puts out every now and then with Fabio just sort of talking about club and transfer strategy. I don't know how much you can really take from that, because obviously all of that has been, gone through the bloody PR machine to make sure that he's not saying this and that, and making sure that it's something that's not showing the club in any sort of negative light or anything. But they are interesting if you can be bothered sitting there and watching a guy just talk at the camera about Tottenham transfers. There's only a couple of them there, but that's the only thing we've got, right? Apart from that, it sounds more like Conte just sort of says, I need players in this position that have these sorts of attributes, and I don't think that Conte's asking for guys of particular, he's not going by name. He's not, or if he is, he's saying, I need a player like this, or I need this player or a player like it, and then I suppose the machine at Tottenham is doing the rest of the work there. But I'm just speculating. I have no idea, as Kuva said. That's how it should work, I suppose. But who knows? Gone are the days of a manager just going, go get me this player, right? That doesn't happen at any club anymore, I don't think. Maybe Chelsea, maybe.
No, and it's not even really gone are those days. I agree, and that perhaps it is really actually Parategy being that sort of negotiator, holding everything together, maybe by the grace of his will. But we're going to move on to probably maybe a bit about United here. So, Ribsy, I'm actually going to give you a follow up. United have been 4-0 down twice at halftime, and on both occasions, their midfield were heavily targeted and pressed, and also knowing United cannot play out from the back. As we know, against the Big Six, Conte likes to adapt a conservative approach to the game. Should Conte stick to this conservative style of play tonight, or should he maybe be brave and press United, knowing that it could produce a 4-0 sort of result, kind of like Man City and what Brentford had done?
Oh man, I mean, yeah. I mean, if there's a proven strategy that seems to be working against the team, I mean, I know that certainly teams have been using that against us. I mean, when we played Royale, they just leave him alone. They don't press him at all. They just wait for him to deliver his ball because it's not going to be worth anything. So and that teams just keep doing that to us. And when he's available, Conte keeps playing him because he likes him for some reason. But yeah, I can't imagine a reason why you wouldn't at least go in with the preliminary strategy that you've seen succeed with other teams doing it, provided you've got the players at your disposal to actually pull it off. So if we do, certainly if we're playing three midfielders, I can imagine that being a good way to go. Bentancur, Højbjerg, and if we're playing Basuma or Skippy, like these guys are tough. They can get in there and get the ball. I can't see why that wouldn't be a way to go. But
hard
who knows?
to know whether it's actually a formula or not.
Yeah. Plus, when we play three in the middle, it's like Harry Kane drops a lot deeper as well, and Sonny isn't expected to come in and get the ball to his feet as much, which seems to be better for Son as well. So I like us playing that way. It makes more sense to me. But as I was saying before, because it's like a backup strategy that we've got, teams aren't as drilled when they're playing against us, I think, to counter that. They're looking at the sort of standard three at the front strategy that we've been playing. So I don't know. We'll see.
I like that part that you brought up, and I'm going to give it to Kuva here. Kuva, do you feel like there is some sort of winning formula against the likes of Man United? Because Brentford, like we saw, pressed them very high up the pitch, made them very uncomfortable. We saw the same thing with Man City, the same result, 4-0 down at halftime for Man United. Is that something that Conte, do you think, should consider? Do you think there is a winning formula perhaps against Man United that some teams haven't used?
I think there's an obvious ingredient to easily beat Man United. The trouble is, we'll probably see him on their bench, and that's Maguire.
Because he was there for one of them. Yeah, he was there for one of them.
Yeah, he's a disaster area, isn't it? They've tightened up defensively with him out of the team. Yeah. So I don't think they're the pushover that they possibly were earlier in the season. I mean, people crucifying Martinez because of his early games when partnered Maguire, and Maguire just wasn't there. So it was he got absolutely battered, and they got thrashed at Brentford. But you see what he's like when he's partnered with Varane. Different kettle of fish altogether. Mm-hmm. I don't think there's an easy, straightforward plan to United now. I think you just got to cut out your mistakes. I think you just don't give them that little sniff of having a breakaway into the box. The pace they've got in some of those forward positions is a real problem, especially some of Perisic getting on a bit. Doherty has no pace. You look at our back, the three in the middle at the back for us. None of them are quick, are they? They're easily bypassed. Quick 1-2 at the edge of the area, go past them. If you haven't got the covering pace back there as well, they could find their way through. I think
there's something to be said. You press them too much, you leave space in behind for that very pacey Man United team.
I think you can get away with that high press against them if you've got a very fit, younger sort of team. We got to look now. The likes of Harry Kane used to be so great at pressing. He's getting on a bit now. I don't think he's got that in his tank to do that
Or he
over
doesn't
90
want to
minutes
as
every
much.
game, has he?
Yeah.
I think that's why Richarlison was actually doing a sort of unsung good job for us. As a forward, you'd look at the goal returns and the assists and think, he's not doing very well this
But
season.
he loves it. He loves tracking a ball down.
Yeah, he's the terrier-like forward.
He is
Conte for
terrier-like.
life. Yeah, yeah. We're finding our way a bit still. So are they. That's why I think this game's quite intriguing. It's how is it going to shape up from the start? There's a few options available, isn't there? I don't think we can be confidently pick any one way that it's going to play out. But does it come down to who's missing more key players? Is it us or them?
Ericsson is a big miss. It's going to be us that's missing more.
I wouldn't be surprised to see Ericsson on the pitch. Don't just like we did with Heung-min Son in the 6-1. Do not get it twisted. I fully expect, even in your injury thing, it went from like a couple of days ago, Ericsson was out. He's ill. Yesterday was training, and now he's a slight doubt. It's like whether
By that answer, then I'm
Christian
thinking
Eriksen
Spurs are missing bigger
he
players.
will make some kind of play today. Ericsson will be there in some kind of capacity for sure.
By that answer, then I think Spurs are missing bigger players. I would say Kuva,
Especially if it comes down to a battle of set pieces, right?
Yeah,
could be. Could come down to that.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, I like that answer. We don't really have a young or the maybe athletic enough of a back line, or even in other areas of the pitch enough to maybe kind of press in the same ways that maybe a Man City or also a Brentford did. Also, the way they do it, they're very organized the way they do it.
Having said that, if Basuma's playing, it does allow Bentancur and Højbjerg further up the pitch, and they can certainly assist with the more aggressive press further up the pitch. So it's just an interesting one, isn't it? For me, the weakness for us is always going to be on the flanks at the moment.
Mm-hmm. I want you to answer this question too, Brian. Even Justin, great name here. Fiaconi says Ammonia FC, 7th in the Cypriot division, largely sat in against United last week and almost drew them if it wasn't for a late McTominay goal. And the question really was, like, do we go by maybe how Brentford and Man City beat them, going 4-0 up at halftime, just basically going for their throats right away with that very high press? Or do we maybe take the Cypriot division approach and maybe put 11 men behind the ball and maybe go for a bit more of a conservative style?
But yeah, this is the thing. I don't think we do either. This is why, for me, even if Kulusevski was fit, I would still go 3-5-2. And the reason I keep saying 3-5-2 isn't just because of the personnel we have. There are certain times where we need to cut off the oxygen of their midfield and stop it getting to their forward line. Now, Ronaldo is been in and out of form, but let's face it, that man on any given day can rip a team apart single-handedly, still at his age. He's not a guy just because he's a year old, you can go, you just leave him be. And Anthony, who Danny Kiriakou waxed lyrical about and was getting absolutely battered on Twitter about, saying, you don't watch the Dutch League, you don't know what. And Danny watches the Dutch League very religiously because his partner is a diehard Sada. She's a diehard Ajax fan and goes to most of the matches. He's an issue. Rashford has been an issue at times. So we need to cut their oxygen off. We need that extra man in midfield. And if we could do that like we did against Everton, not saying it's going to be as easy as Everton, but if we can cut off the supply to them, we saw against Everton and against Leicester, when we reverted to that position, that we just cut their supply off. We killed the game in midfield. And this game has got Bissouma marking a Ronaldo or marking an Anthony, just following him around the pitch and doing what he did to Harry Kane, written all over it. This is the game. I think Bissouma well and truly showed after the Everton game he deserves a start at a 3-5-2. He did it against Brighton, and Brighton was a completely different game. We got a clean sheet. He did it again yesterday. Saturday. We got a clean sheet. And if we look at the amount of possession and amount of attempts that Leicester and Everton had when Bissouma came on compared to us, it's a completely different brand of football. It's a completely different brand of football. Do you remember I kept saying against the filth, we've got to go there and make sure we play the game, not the occasion?
Yeah.
Well, that comes to certain games. And going to Old Trafford is certainly one of them, under the lights and everything. So for me, if we could just do what we did against Everton, do what we did against Leicester, and just nullify them, and just say you're not getting past this midfield. And if you do want to battle, we're here to battle. Because you look, even Højbjerg and Bentancur have upped their levels once Bissouma has come on the pitch. Yeah. He has made a fundamental difference, both the way we play going forward and the way we have defended going back. So for me, this game has got Bissouma written all over it, and just do what we did against Leicester and Everton. And I think that'll be enough to win convincingly.
No, I think a lot of people really enjoyed it.
I quite like the idea of Bissouma messing up Bruno Fernandes' game.
Oh, even him. I didn't even mention him.
And then, because I'm looking at the fact we don't see Ronaldo even get the ball. That would be the ideal way. Rather than marking him out, he just cuts off the supply. So, I mean, if Bissouma did that on Bruno Fernandes and Højbjerg and Bentancur get forward a bit more, they can mess up Eriksen's game. We've got all their creativity taken out then.
I know what you're saying also as well. I think all of you, to be honest, on that situation, especially when it comes to maybe just the way that Spurs probably aren't exactly set up in the same way that Brentford are, maybe in that sort of young and kind of spryness, like Kuva was saying. But also, it's a game where maybe we shouldn't risk everything, and we should go for that sort of approach that we know that works and nullifies teams, like Brian said, with the 3-5-2 there.
Just to cover that, like I said, I would prefer 3-5-2 to be our default setting. That is the one I would prefer. But then you've got a risk of how you're going to get Kulusevski, how you're going to get Richarlison, whatever. But what we've got to do as a team now, in my opinion, is there's certain games where you've got to do, like I said, like suffocate the midfield and just win that battle. And there's other games, let's say a Brentford away, a Villa away or whatever. And we saw what a 3-4-3 did against Villa last season. We absolutely battered them. That's when you go and say, right, this team, their midfield ain't all that. They're forward, like, go express yourself, go do it. But there's certain games where we're going to have to flex and say, right, they're like, I hadn't even mentioned Bruno Fernandes until Kuva did. And I mentioned Anthony, Rashford, and Ronaldo. That's not even adding him. Or Eriksen, if Eriksen starts.
Yeah.
So there's certain games where their attacking lineup are like, well, we've got to pay a bit of respect and make sure we cover our defenders and sort it out. And there's other games we can say, right, defence, you've got to do what you're doing in a 3-4-3, because there's certain ways we're going to have to play certain games. And Old Trafford and their creativity, they have to be shown the respect and like say, right, you're not going to win this battle.
Yeah. We have to pay that creativity some respect, and some of those players some respect. You're absolutely right, Brian. Tin Man 007 with a good question here. And Tin Man, we answered it in a sort of way, but I like how you're putting it. He says, do we know why the media are so anti-Spurs this year? Is it Conte? Is it our football? Or do you think they are worried about us? We sort of answered it in the sense that it does seem like there are maybe some clubs that are playing some pretty attractive football in the sense of Man City and Arsenal, but I don't know. They've always kind of been anti-Spurs, in my opinion, kind of Tin Man. And a part of that just also has to do with the majority of pundits that you kind of see on either Fraud Sports or whatnot, are all either ex-Arsenal, ex-Man United, ex-Chelsea. They're usually kind of full of just former players that were kind of taught to hate Spurs, kind of, in fact. So it's kind of, I think, sheds through in some of their analysis. But also there is, I think, an understanding that the way Conte plays isn't really the most attractive in the Premier League, and it isn't exactly the team that maybe you want to see play first, you could say, on when you look at kind of the schedule on the weekend. Then again, though, it's proven to work, and as Kuva said earlier, really what Conte is just trying to do is just sprint to the highest possible point total, and then maybe he can fine-tune things like a bit later, Tin Man, and maybe make us look a bit more attractive. I'll also say, though, part of the reason maybe we haven't looked as attractive is just simply because Sonny and Kane haven't really started clicking until now. That's a huge loss when you're losing kind of goals in that department. Kulusevski, as we've brought up plenty of times, has been injured for amount of games now as well. So we are kind of missing part of the players that simply do make us the attractive team that we are. As much as we all want Højbjerg to be the shining light of this team, I think we need a bit more than that to make Spurs a bit more attractive on paper. But that's kind of my answer on this. Anybody here, Ribsy or Kuva, Brian, want to answer to Tin Man? No.
Yeah, I'll quickly say there's more to this. Now, what I'm going to say, the fans have a lot to do with this. Us and that's both on the both ends of the spectrum. Levy in, Levy out, Levy on the whatever. Because when we got Conte in, people thought, right, that's it, we're winning the Premier League. That's it. Conte wins you the league. That's it. No, he doesn't. Conte is a huge part into getting you the league. He needs the players around him to bring it. Then this 150 million came in. Oh, yeah, we're linked with Bastoni. We're linked with this one. We're getting this one. We're getting that one. We're shopping at Harrods. No, we weren't. We spent the money wisely in some areas. We didn't get, and all of a sudden, a lot of Spurs fans, I'm not saying Levy in and Levy, both are critical of it, kind of thought we have a divine right to win it now because, I mean, you can imagine when that money came in, the abuse I was getting and tweets and whatever I was getting. I got told this was part of a 20-year plan. This has all been building. Everything we've gone through, this was Levy's idea. No, it wasn't. So our fan base also, you got to remember, we're at loggerheads a lot of the time. When the ball crosses the line, so when we cross the white line, no matter what, every single one of us want a successful Tottenham. No matter what. Once we come off the pitch, whether it be a bad result or you think it's a good result or Emerson was shit, Emerson was good, Son's on form, Son's not on form. I've never seen like our fan base just go to war with each other. And if you say something that isn't right or to their agenda, straight away, boom, you are absolutely crucified and it just takes over. Like I said, I said on We Are Tottenham TV once that I want Son to be rested. There were comments on YouTube asking me to be suspended because I'm being racist to Koreans. I was like, no. I want Harry Kane to be rested. Am I being racist to myself? This is the thing. You cannot. People will know. People come on here like that, Andy James or whatever, saying, "Oh, they Levy out." Or
but he's talking about the media, just quickly. He's talking about the media.
I know. But this is the thing. What I'm saying about these things happen. But no, I never get personal with people. But what happens with a lot of and this is the thing, the fan base just go at war with each other. So when it comes to the media hating us, you see people on TalkSport, you see people on our channels, you see it's the media have got it in as well because us Spurs fans are going around thinking we have a divine right to win shit when we don't. We don't have it. You have to win it by competing. And that's what causes it. That puts a lot of petrol on the fire. So that's why the media as well. It's not just the media going, oh, this season, let's hate Spurs. We're our own worst enemies. And I'm a culprit of it as well. I don't exclude myself out of this. I'm a hothead that will shout from the rooftops without even thinking. So it's not just, I'm not excusing myself from this, but we don't help ourselves as fans.
I know what you're trying to say. Big up, Tin Man. Hopefully you appreciate those answers, brother. And anybody else, feel free to skip the queue like Tin Man has and putting in your questions that's on your mind. Maybe something that's just kind of bothering you, sort of Spurs vibes, either about this game, just or in general. Feel free to throw it in a super chat. Great way to support the channel. It's good to see you in here as well, Tin Man. Good man. Good to see you. But kind of on this kind of sort of Kulusevski 352, which I think we've sort of kind of gotten to here. Kulusevski has been recovering from an injury over the past few weeks, and Conte has kept his availability very close to his chest and is yet to rule out Kulusevski featuring tonight against United. Do you think Conte is playing mind games with Ten Hag, and will he play Kulusevski, or is he maybe going to start with that 3-5-2 that maybe we've been alluding to? If you were to maybe make a guess, if you were to have a crack at maybe what you've been able to interpret from him, is he playing his cards to his chest so much that it's impossible to tell, or do you think it's maybe more the case that Kulusevski might not start today?
It's hard to tell with Conte, isn't it? I think sometimes you could say there's a little bit of mind games going on, but I think overall, I would say he's brutally transparent with a lot of what he says. He will say there's a doubt about a player because he genuinely does have a doubt about him. It might be because we've got a training session coming up and he wants to see what they're like in that session, so he can't answer at that point. I believe that will be the case with Kulusevski, because one thing I'm absolutely positive of is he won't rush him back into the team if he feels he's not ready, because another setback that puts him out for a further month or something, that'll be disastrous. He'll come back in when he's ready. If he's good enough for the bench, perhaps he'll come on with sort of 20 minutes to go, perhaps turn a cagey 1-1 game round into a 2-1 win, something like that. To start him, it would be a big decision. It would mean he's definitely up to speed in training, has been all week, and he's looking sharp. I don't think Conte will play him otherwise.
I think you said as well, Kuva, about the mobility that's needed today, especially if we did want to play a slightly higher line and things like that. We would need Kulusevski to be a bit more fit, a bit more mobile. And if he isn't fully fit or fully mobile, then you maybe just take that risk and, or not that risk. You go for the more conservative approach and you go with Basuma, who is fully fit and ready to go.
Well, if it was down to me, I'd be playing both of them. I think Kulusevski is an absolutely fantastic footballer. I'd prefer to see him in the team every day of the week. It is a fitness issue for me. I think Conte's just not going to gamble with it. He knows the amount of fixtures that are coming up. He knows the importance of it all. And he knows what a good start we've had to the season. We're not going to take a gamble on such a key player and throw him in when he's not ready. I think it is purely that fitness level that matters.
Yeah, definitely know what you're saying.
Hamstrings as well, you have to be damned. Look at Michael Owen. These are the kind of injuries that once the hamstring starts tearing, they can be very, very, they can reoccur a hell of a lot. And Kulusevski, for me, and I've said it before, in the 3-4-3, he is the most vital component for playing that formation. Don't get me wrong, Son and Kane get the goals and Kulusevski chips in. But we've seen whenever Kulusevski ain't there, that 3-4-3 just simply doesn't work. He is an absolutely integral part. He is the heartbeat of that 3-4-3. And Kuva's right. When you've got an injury like this, and now Richarlison's picked it, and you have the option. This is the thing. This is why I'm saying 3-5-2. You have the option to not even say Kulusevski, you can rest because I can play 3-5-2. I have the players to do this. Don't rush him back, especially you're going to have a month with him because Sweden aren't going to the World Cup. There's games, even the Champions League coming up. We need to win against Sporting Lisbon on next Wednesday or Tuesday, whenever it is. And we're through pretty much. So if you're going to risk Kulusevski and the Champions League is the Holy League to get through, bring him on as a sub in that game. Or maybe even bring him on a sub at home to Newcastle and test the water. Don't just bring him back because he had that hamstring injury. He was due to come back. He picked one up again. A slight tear or whatever. Don't risk it. Do not risk it. Don't do short-term gain for long-term. Listen, forget the short-term gain of having him in. I want him for the long term. I want a fit, raring to go Kulusevski.
And you already know that we can win with this 3-5-2 anyway.
Exactly.
So why risk it? Whereas kind of the question is that, and David did put this down here, that, do we lose without Kulusevski? Is Kulusevski crucial to winning this game? With the 3-5-2, with what you guys have been vouching for, it seems like we can get a result here without Kulusevski, and we can maybe go buy another game without.
I think an excellent point from Brian as well, bringing up Michael Owen as the example. The last thing anybody wants to see is Kulusevski goes from a brilliant footballer this week to being a really shit, boring pundit on BT Sport next week.
I didn't see you go down that route, but yeah. Oh, dear.
Bobspur TV, don't sugarcoat it. Diego, Lenik are failures. A club who needs to be competitive and yet win one trophy under their stewardship are crap. Shape up. I didn't think he was being very sugarcoating anything, but to be honest, Diego, maybe a time to answer Mr. Bobspur.
Yeah,
did you feel like you left something behind? Did you maybe feel like there was a word you left out, or maybe a regret in that speech?
He sent me a message after he sent that saying I'd already seen it going, I'm gonna light your fire, and I was like, okay, here we go. So, but what Bob's done is, as the basketball term will know, he's done an alley-oop. He's put it up there for me just to come down and slam dunk it. Listen, it's what can I say? Kuva knows it. We speak. Kuva and I are very much aligned with Bob on this topic. It is 21 years of failure. I remember growing up, and I don't remember my dad saying to me, "Do you know what? I've supported Tottenham, seen titles, seen this, but what I really, really miss is skywalks, second pitches, longest bars, properties, the biggest shop in Europe, a retractable pitch." No. Like I said, the growth of Tottenham, the growth of this club, what he's done, has been second to none. But I don't support that's not what I support my football team for. That's not what we all support. I'm not an accountant. I'm not an analytical person that sits down and looks at spreadsheets and pie charts. Look at the growth in this area. The only growth I care about is on that goddamn football pitch. And we've had 21 years 14 managers that could have had certain players in that could have made the money. The biggest way you make money in Tottenham is by winning titles. By winning titles and cups, you attract bigger sponsors. By winning titles and doing these regularly, you attract bigger players because they know you are coming to compete, not just coming to compete for top four. And there has been time after time after time after time where we have fundamentally failed. Mm-hmm. And it may start turning around now. It may, but it's going to take 5-6 years for me to even contemplate thinking about it. And I don't think it will happen. So, Bob Spurs right. It is 21 years of failure. And it will carry on until this parasite leaves. And I chose my word carefully. I was about to say something I shouldn't have. But yeah, that's all I'll say about that.
Well, that was the only part he sugarcoated, was maybe that final word there, Bob Spur. Full answers from him, my man. Absolute legend, Mr. Daigle. And big up, Bob Spur. Really appreciate your support. He says, big up, you beautifully average-looking people in the chat. And Kuva as well. I think he's rejected the offer for a haircut, so he told me as well, Bob Spur. But maybe next time, Maybe when he goes to Harry Kane's barber, he'll take a look at it. But lads, kind of just a few more questions tonight. Then we'll start plugging the channels and all that good stuff. When we're kind of talking about the 3-4-3, why hasn't it really been working though for you, Ribsy? Because is it Kulusevski that's really the answer? Is Richarlison doing something wrong in particular? If we did go for a 3-4-3, why is there maybe some skepticism about it, especially if Kulusevski isn't there? Maybe what is he doing that maybe others aren't?
Oh man, well, I mean, Kuva was saying before what a brilliant player Decky is, and I couldn't agree more. That's one of the best bits of business this club has done in a decade, because he's just such a talent, and you can always tell when it's that kind of player where people look at him and go, I don't see what the big deal is. Like, well, he's not fast, he's not this, he's not that. But then you watch him play and you're like, oh, I get it now. You know, like, and that's how you know. That's how you know how incredible he is. But you know, I've forgotten who said it, and it was probably someone really famous. But anyway, but the whole point was, when your point when you're managing a football team is to get your best players on the pitch for the most amount of time, right? And when we it just so happens that our three best players, in my opinion, are all forwards. So you want to have Son, Kane, and Decky on the pitch at all times, playing in the optimal positions. And Decky will say that a number 10 is his optimal position. Well, we don't play with a number 10. So playing on the right wing is the best way to get something out of him. Can you play him as a midfielder? Well, probably not with what we use our midfielders for. He would be a very different type of midfielder. You could put him, you could try, I mean, but this is not the kind of game to do that in, obviously. So yeah, it's what he gives us on the pitch is just creativeness. The way that he's able to put those crosses in after sort of switching it onto the other foot and then just loft it up over the top, and we've seen that be goals and danger, you know, in so many matches. So yeah, he's just a really smart football brain, and you're nuts not to have him on the pitch, right? So that's what we're missing, you know. And Richarlison, like where he may lack in some of the, and I'm not saying that Richarlison's an idiot or anything, but where he lacks in maybe some of that footballing brain, he makes up for in tenacity, and he really winds up, you know, the opposition when he's playing, and you know, he has that sort of Brazilian sort of moment where he can do something that it seems like no one else can do, simply because he's played a million more hours of football than anyone else, you know, on the pitch, and he just you know, he'll try something that comes this close from being a goal, and you go, whew, that would have been incredible if it came off. And you know, he's going to have games where it does. So he's a great footballer too, and he's adaptable, and I can see him being just as useful playing right up front, you know, as a replacement for Kane. Whereas I haven't seen Decky ever play in that role, so you know, obviously that's not going to be. Well, I mean, maybe he does. Who knows? But
quick question. Have we ever seen, and this is for the whole panel, have we ever seen Sonny play on the right? Has that ever been a game in particular? Is that like, I know that's almost like a Spurs pub quiz sort of question. Like, what game did Sonny play right wing? Have we ever seen him play on the right? Because he's so two-footed.
We've seen under the likes of Pochettino, where the forwards would interchange and
Sure.
Swap wings and things like that. But actually starting on the right, can't recall one.
Yeah, where maybe he was more often found there, and that's a good answer. Though true, yeah, under the Poch days was a bit more fluid, so you often did find him over there. But nowadays he's a bit just more exclusively on the left, and it feels like Richie. It might take some time for him to maybe learn that right wing position. He's just still kind of adjusting to it, and also it's not really his ideal position anyway. And so I was thinking maybe with Kulusevski out, perhaps we do consider Sonny maybe to take up that position, and then Richie would maybe go to the left. But I don't know, maybe that's accommodating too much sometimes for other players. But just a quick thought actually on Clement Longley versus Ben Davies on this one. Kuva, who do you think Conte prefers, and who are we going to see tonight? Because that has been a position that he has rotated very frequently between the two, and it's hard to know who he might prefer. So who do you think we'll see tonight?
I think he's fairly happy with both of them. Ben Davies has improved massively over the last couple of seasons from where he was. It's still not the greatest in the world, but he's doing a good job. And I think Longley is just a slightly improved version of him. He's a little bit better on the ball, although Davies has been pretty good going forward as well lately. I think they're much alike. It's a sort of solid 6 or 7 out of 10 performance from both of them each time. So I don't think he's got any problems with rotating those two because he gets the same deal.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. And I do know what you're saying. I kind of prefer Longley at the moment just because of that passing range. And just a quick follow-up, Kuva. In that last game against Everton, sometimes I think Ben Davies makes too many runs forward and often is kind of just camping outside the opposition box and kind of that final third area. And I kind of thought he was getting in the way of kind of Sonny and Perisic and other players. What are your thoughts on that? Am I kind of just pointing the finger at Ben Davies and just saying this is why it wasn't working? But I feel like Longley likes to sit a bit further back and sort of spray the passes, where Ben Davies likes to make those sort of like runs through the middle and be a bit more mobile, you could say.
Well, it's tactics for the occasion, isn't that? I mean, let's face it, Everton were just sitting back there. They were just parking the bus in that second half.
True.
So why shouldn't he roam forward? I've got no problem with that. Need to add to the attack. Perisic, not Perisic. Longley, I agree. I think his passing range is better. Although there's games where he's been sort of toning that down a little bit as well. He's not going for those Hollywood balls quite so often and maintaining possession a bit more, especially when we go to the 3-5-2, because then the midfield is getting used more. So he doesn't need to go for those long range passes.
Gotcha.
Keeps it simple. Keep possession of the ball. It's he's fitting with whatever the tactic is at the time. Ben Davies, got to hand it to him. He does love to get forward.
Yeah.
He's always has done. There's been a few times
we actually always laugh at Romero getting really far forward, but I'll be honest, Ben Davies in that Everton game was making more runs. It felt like even forward at times.
Yeah, absolutely. Whether by design or not, we've at times ended up with almost the Mourinho system. That sort of lopsided look to the pitch with one wing going forward all the time while the other's staying back. So I think maybe he's just thinking, I've only got a few more years left in my career. I fancy getting a few goals now.
Especially the testimonial coming up.
He's occasionally thundered in a screamer, hasn't he? Rattled the bar a couple of times. And
he needs a better highlight reel for that testimonial is probably what he's thinking.
Yeah, that could be it.
Great answer. Brian, last question for you. And then, like I said, we're going to start plugging channels and all that good stuff. Who is Conte going to go for at left wing back? Also a position that's kind of been rotated a lot this season between Perisic and Sessegnon. Sessegnon, do you think is better suited to come up against Antony? Or do you think about maybe Perisic's ability going forward? Who would you like to see tonight between Sessegnon?
Well, I'd like to see Perisic. I'd like to see Perisic. Now, Ribsy said at the beginning he'd heard that, or it been said that Lucas Moura might play right wing back. Another thing I'd heard that he might have played Sessegnon at left, Perisic at right, and then he might play Sessegnon left, and then he might put Perisic up top on the left. And that I wouldn't mind seeing, because Perisic, as Boss put in a super chat about Perisic being underwhelming so far. He's brilliant going forward, and you saw against Everton in the first 10-15 minutes he was on it, and his crosses, There's a reason he's got the most successful cross rate in the Premier League, because he's brilliant at it. Defensive, it seems that he's struggling to get the pace of the Premiership, I think, but he will get there. But what I want to see is a 3-5-2. Although see now I think about it, whenever I think of Sessegnon marked Salah out of the game twice. His defensive work, and I'm a fan of Sessegnon. I know he comes in for a lot of.
He's had some excellent defensive performances.
I'm a fan of Sessegnon, and I really think there's a player there. I think we've missed. We could have used him so much better in the time that we've had him, and I think his self-confidence is shot to bits when it comes to believing in his pace and believing in taking a man on. But this is such a hard question. I want to see, basically, I want to see a 3-5-2, and I want to see Perisic. I want to see Perisic.
If you're going 3-5-2, then Perisic has that protection there. So that's probably the right way to go about it, especially if you are thinking 3-5-2. I like that answer. Faz Radfar, more important to keep Paratici or Conte or both? I think the easy answer is just to say both. Also as well, because I think Paratici, his sort of transfers and everything and his sort of transfer targets are probably his job in general is maybe made a whole lot easier with Antonio Conte maybe at the helm, because then that way they can communicate with each other. They've worked with each other in the past. There is that understanding, that chemistry between the two. Whereas if he had to bring in a new manager, who's to say whether Paratici will have that same sort of chemistry or that same sort of connection right away on who they want to get and what's the right idea for the club. You never can know whether they'll get along. But I'll be honest, it has to be Conte, because Conte is going to be the one that has been really changing more kind of the DNA of, I think, how, like we've been saying before, the DNA of how fans view Spurs, the DNA of how maybe the media views Spurs, as well as also getting that sort of monkey off our back in terms of the trophies as well. Antonio Conte is going to be the guy to do it, or at least we think is the best guy to do it at this moment in time. I would say, as much as we love Don Paratici, as much as we are the Paratici propaganda channel, I don't know if I would go that far with the praise of him. But I don't know. Does anybody disagree with me on this one? I think it is Conte by far, as much as I would love to praise Paratici. Alrighty, silence.
You could argue for Paratici, couldn't you? Because if Conte does leave soon, Paratici could be here for many years yet.
He is more longevity, though.
Yeah, so that would surely shape the course of the club over the next 4 years. It depends how long they stay, doesn't it? Might be a big bust up.
Conte probably, but maybe
a couple of Italians there, so there's always a bust up likely on the cards at some point. So who's it going to be with? Each other or the chairman? They could all be going.
Espressos flying everywhere.
I think the only way you can really answer it is to say whoever stays the longest is most important.
Yeah, for me, everything revolves around Conte. If Conte signs, Kane signs. If Kane signs, then Conte is the heartbeat of everything. That Conte has come to set something and set a blueprint of how a winning football club should be run. Paratici is there as the go-between of what he's been doing, getting players out, players in, up for debate, but players out you can't question. Players in, a little bit up in the air. But one of the things I've loved about Paratici is he stepped in front of a camera 3 or 4 times in his first season and said, "This is what we're doing. This is what's happened. This is what we're attempting." He's actually had the balls to come out on a camera and say, "Right," like Aston Villa did when they sold Jack Grealish. He is communicating with the fans, which is something we haven't had for years. But don't get it twisted. Antonio Conte is the heartbeat of this football club, and he is the most important person in that entire club right now by a million miles.
Yeah, I just think he's the one that's going to be kind of solving more of the issues that Spurs fans kind of want dealt maybe with right away. And he also is the one that is also keeping a lot of the people inside the Spurs hierarchy accountable, as we know right now. Bob Spur TV, question for the panel: has Perisic underwhelmed so far? I guess considering how good we know he is and how good he was last season for the likes of Inter Milan, maybe he has underwhelmed. But I'm sort of one of those guys that doesn't really like to just, if I've seen good moments from them and I have seen quality from them, I don't really like to write them off and get impatient, because if they have put in good performances and they have put in good games, then I think it's completely understandable they're not going to put in good performances in other games. Whereas I like a guy that I do like to rip on, Darwin Nunez, I think is kind of worthless for what he's sort of supposed to have brought for them this season. Whereas like someone like a Perisic, a free signing, all that sort of wisdom and experience that he has. He's also had some good performances, I think, as well as maybe had some underwhelming ones. I think it's okay that he's had maybe more of a mixed bag this season. Also, with how versatile he is, it's a huge plus. I'm happy with Perisic. And to be honest, maybe you're right, Bob. It actually has been maybe a bit underwhelming considering how good we know he can be, but it's also completely okay in my books. It's not really something I'm, worried about at night or something that's keeping me up at night right now. I would say Perisic. But I don't know. Has anybody else been underwhelmed by Perisic, perhaps?
I think purely down to our expectation, isn't it? You look at somebody with his caliber and his track record, and you think, oh, the whole team's going to be elevated to his level, and it doesn't work out that way. But what he does do is deliver quality balls into the box, and we have been sorely lacking that. So I think he's worth his weight in gold to us at the moment, even if his best days are past him. He's obviously not going to be the same as when he was mid-20s and herring up and down the wing all day long. It's just pure quality. That's what he adds to the team. We lack it. He adds it.
Yeah, the bottom dude even says, yes, Perisic has been a bit underwhelming, but he will improve and be that best player of last season. He has had a bad injury, but we will see the best of him soon. I like that positivity. I'm not really too worried, if you ask me, to bottom Duda. He also says here, we played 3 formations this season already, 3-4-3, 3-5-2, 4-4-2 / 4-2-4 so far this season. Conte has been more flexible in managing Tottenham than he has ever been. And this guy is a big Conte expert here, Ribsy. What have you made of the Conte's flexibility or lack of flexibility? How do you feel about it, Ribsy? Would you like to see him kind of maybe switch between 3-4-3 and 3-5-2 more often? Are we starting to see that now? What are your thoughts on his either flexibility or inflexibility?
Well, as the bottom dude is saying there, he's being more flexible than he has been in the past. So, yeah. I mean, it's
more flexible.
I don't know what really you can expect more out of it. I mean, it's not about how many formations we play, right? It's about getting points in football matches.
But if he was Gianni Dio, he had 3,500 different formations available to him.
Then he'd have to explain them in 10 different languages to Eric Dyer. So
good point. But I feel like, the inflexibility is probably a bit harsh on him. And the bottom dude makes a good point here, lads, where this is actually the most flexible Conte has ever been. So perhaps Spurs, maybe with the lack of depth that he has in certain positions, have made him be more flexible. But also Conte is perhaps showing a different side to his game, or showing a different side to his tactics with being more flexible. Certainly, definitely. Big up to bottom dude. I really appreciate support. Brian, time to plug the channels. Give me those score predictions, brother.
Okay, so first of all, when it comes to the channel, I just want to say a huge thank you, because we may not have been putting out as much content as we wanted to, and there have been underlying issues which a lot of people, or a few people, may know, and it will be coming back. But we hit 5,000 subscribers this week, so we finally hit that goddamn milestone that we've been trying to get for ages. We apologise, and I keep saying that we apologise, because this is the reason we haven't brought out membership, because we don't want to take people's money and not be able to provide content for them. Once we start doing that, you've got to be. So we apologise. There's been a lack of content, but I can guarantee you that come November, Tottenham on Tour will be back, and they will be back in a big way, especially with me being back in London. So that's where you can find me, Ben Kaufman, Danny Kiriakou, as well as Brian Ireland. There will be a lot of content coming your way. And as for score prediction, listen, Sandro was on We Are Tottenham TV, and he said 2-1. And if it's good enough for Sandro, it's good enough for me. So I'm going 2-1 Tottenham. Harry Kane to score 6 games on a row and carry on. And do you know what? If he carries on, he can become England's top goal scorer, Tottenham's top goal scorer. And if he scores in every single Premier League game until the World Cup, he's at the record 11 that Jamie Vardy hit. And then his first game that he comes back and go, right, I may have a World Cup, I may have a Golden Boot, I may be Tottenham's record goal scorer, I am England's goal scorer. but now I'm going to smash another record. So I'm going for Harry Kane, 2-1 Tottenham. Harry Kane to get both.
Love it. Absolutely love that. And everybody do check out Tottenham on Tour. The content is coming soon, and they are going to be coming thick and fast once Brian makes his move over, and also still hitting the milestones nonetheless, which shows all the support they're still getting. So everybody hit that channel link so that you can get more some Brian Diggle, especially when he makes the move. Kuva, I put in 3 Spurs boys, Kuva and the King, but is there something else I should put in there as well?
Oh, definitely got to give a big shout out to Bob Spur TV.
Yes, sir.
In the wall on Saturday again, 10:45. Bob's just reminded me it's coming up to an anniversary of him going into a coma for the first time.
Is it a coma?
Yeah, apparently he was. Yeah, he's kept it quiet. I mean, he doesn't like to.
Yeah, I knew I flew home for something. I just couldn't remember what it was, but I knew it was something. A coma. That's news.
But yes, on the serious point though, that event brought a hell of a lot of us very close together because we had that shared period of uncertainty and worry about it, and it was on every stream. It was always big shout out to Bob. The community spirit was fantastic during that time. So even when we're having all these little arguments about tactics and things now, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. We've got good people in this Spurs YouTube community. Yeah. And it's a good time to celebrate it all. Bob's been raising nearly coming up to £6,000 from for the NHS, plus another 5,000 from trustees to add to it as well. So it's been a significant fundraising activity as well as a talking point, and all ties in with mental health issues episodes we've had. Brian's had them on the Tottenham on tour as well. We sort of did a special with Bob on the comas. It's all been tied in. It's interests to a lot of the community, and great people around here. So a lot of them very generous, helping out, and not just even when it's not money, it's offers of help as well, and just looking out for each other. I think we forget that sometimes. That's what I think tonight. It's one of those. I've just got this feeling about it tonight. So I think it's going to carry on. It's kind of inspired me in a way. It's getting through the adversity and coming out smiling at the other end. Wow. That's why I'm going for a 2-1 win tonight, even though I felt 2-1 loss earlier in the week. The closer we get to it, the more I think.
I think a 2-1 is always that.
Let's have a classic. Kane and Sonny to score. Everybody's happy then.
2-1 is one of those score lines, Kivo, where it always can be flipped, I think, is how 2-1s usually go.
I just think it's going to be that kind of close game, yeah.
Yeah, but beautifully said, though, before Kuva and everybody. Show Bob Spur some love, please, especially this weekend with the In the Wall coming up. That should be your Saturday plans, is what I should say, everybody. Those are your Saturday plans. Check out Bob Spur TV. Show him some love for the In the Love or In the Wall this weekend. In the Love, In the Wall. But big up Bob Spur, and really appreciate you tuning in as well, my man. Ribsy, thanks for coming on, my friend, today, and thanks for filling in on the pre-match build-ups. And people know you well from the fan shows. I'm not sure if you do have anything to plug, but Ribsy, thanks for coming on, my man.
No worries, guys. You can follow me on Twitter if you want to watch me argue with teenagers on the internet, but that's about it. It's just that, Ribsy.
I'll put that in there on our way out. But everybody, that is all for today. That is the pre-match build-up. We're doing the watch-along later today, so do stay tuned for that, everybody. Take a nice little break, have a beer, get some lunch, get some dinner in between. Hopefully Dave will be able to join for the watch-along, but like I said, he's not really feeling his best, and he is celebrating a birthday on top of that, so we'll see how he is handling. But it is going to be Sean and I do believe on the watch-along over on the Irish Hotspurs, so don't you worry. But everybody, do stay tuned for that. That'll be all for today. Really do appreciate all the support today. So many people in the chat putting in their comments. Really appreciate all the donations with the super chats as well. All the people getting their thoughts in on this game. But everybody, like I said, that'll be all for today. I'm going 2-1. That's been my score prediction from the very beginning. But we will be seeing you. Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
We trust.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.